And get all right. So today's training, this is something that has been on my mind for a little bit. I actually just created madly this presentation just in the past few days. Like there's been a lot of things I've just been thinking about, and I wanted to bring it to you. So weight loss plateaus are one of the most difficult things to deal with in weight loss. And so today I want to make sure that we're covering why this is happening, how to get out of it, and how to really deal with the mental aspect of this as well. All right, so here's a question of the day. So you're trying to lose weight, you're making healthier food choices, you're saying no to cake at office birthday parties, stuff like that. You're having just one cocktail when you know you want to have more. You've been really good. And so you're waking up and you're excited because it's weigh-in morning and you're feeling good. You've been doing all the right things and something must be happening on the scale, right? So you jump out of bed, you hit the bathroom real quick, you strip down to your undies and you step on. And it's amazing how quickly that hopeful, confident feeling can just turn to angst and disappointment and sheer terror in a lot of ways. Because honestly, you've been on your best behavior. And so if even that's not enough to lose weight, that is such a hopeless place to feel. So why even bother in that? Okay. So I'm Jackie Ordorian. I'm a registered dietitian. I started JD Nutrition LLC back in 2018. And my job is to make sure that you never feel this way about weigh-in day ever again. And that can start right now. So why should you listen to me? I do have some credentials. I have devoted my career to being a dietitian, but above all else, this is exactly how I used to feel on the scale while losing weight. I have lost, well, initially 50 pounds and then several yo-yos over the years that I've lost count. And I know how hard this process can really be. So I've really dedicated my career and my life to helping women escape the restrictions of dieting and find success with less effort through my Ditch the Diet online program. I work exclusively with women over 35 and I'm 38 now, but I actually always have worked with this demographic of women because this really does mark the start of the most difficult time in a woman's life to lose weight. It's a time where cutting out soda for a week no longer means that you're losing 5 pounds by the end of the week. And whatever we're putting into place needs to be done quickly because there are so much things going on. There's no time to waste between work and kids and home life and any other sort of things that you have going on, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you. All right. So what I'm going to show you today, like I said, there are a lot of different reasons why your weight isn't budging. And it's really important to identify which reason it is so that you can focus your energy there and not waste time grabbing at all these different straws that it's not really important for you, right? I'm going to show you what doesn't work so that you can stop wasting your time on things and scrambling, right? And I'll take you through the steps to solve your plateau. So identifying why, figuring out what to do next is really the best way to go about this. And I'm going to help you work on some of the mindset issues that surround this issue as well, so that you don't feel like you're on such an emotional roller coaster and basing the mood of your day based on the weigh-in that you see first thing in the morning. And most importantly, we're going to answer this one question, which is, how do I lose 20 pounds in 90 days? Okay. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So let's start here. So in my program, one of the first things that my ladies do is get a lesson in what real weight loss actually looks like, right? We need a dose of reality. It is not a steep, straight line. We want to see it doing this. Most women know that that's not a reality, but they get frustrated anyway when they're not seeing those kinds of results. So the chart on the right is a real client's progress report over a 1 month period. So a couple of weeks in here, we see a pretty steep decline in the numbers. Great, right? This is the part where you start feeling on top of the world. I finally figured this thing out. This is going to be different this time. celebrate. This is amazing, right? You may not even do anything different the next day. You may not celebrate by eating ice cream, but the scale goes up drastically. And this is exactly where that mad face is, right? Because, in all, this chart here does represent your mood on any given day. For a lot of people that are dieting, you see the ups and downs in your emotions just as much as you see on the scale. So, as I said, this is a real client report. So, this is a critical point because what happens next is why most women give up. And so this client that I had was mad, capital MAD, very upset. So she messaged me saying she was fed up with dieting. She's so mad that even this program didn't work for her. She's tried so many other things before. She put in so much effort, so much hard work. She crushed her workouts this week, got a handle on her hunger. Everything felt like it was in place. So what the hell, right? So she's right. I mean, this is a very easy thing to get frustrated over. And she could have given up like she had before. She could have said, you know what, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and watch TV because it doesn't seem to matter what I do anyway. The end. But for the first time in her dieting life, she actually did not do that. So after talking with her for a bit, she decided that she was just going to remain neutral about this and just keep plugging away at the things she was working on and just see what happened, right? And look what happened next. What happens after that phase happens. The very next day, literally the day later, the weight drops significantly. And then over the next few days, dropped to a new low she never would have experienced if she had let the emotions get the best of her, right? So most of us in this situation hit that mad face spot and then plateau out, gain weight, and that is the usual cycle. And so if you want to really be successful in weight loss, you have to build the mindset to withstand this emotional roller coaster so that you're not crying on the bathroom floor every time the scale doesn't go the right way. Okay. So, a couple of quick tips for this, some ways that you can sort of desensitize yourself to these fluctuations that are completely normal, by the way. Let me switch my page here. So first things first is resetting your expectations. A weight loss plateau, or if this is the very beginning, you're starting from basically a plateau, this is solved mindset first. Okay, so we need to reset the expectations, understand what is actually normal in weight loss. Don't let the number on your scale define who you are as a human being. Somehow that gets wrapped up in a number. That's crazy how that works. I've been there too. And we do have to build this mindset to withstand the bad way in. So just a few quick tips to get you started with this. Having other progress markers besides the number on the scale is super important, right? So you can gauge your progress through how you're feeling, your energy levels, reducing bloating, just feeling confidence in the way that your clothes are fitting. It could be having like a certain outfit that used to fit you well, feels a little snug right now, trying that on now and then just to see how your progress is going, even if the scale isn't saying anything in your favor, right? This is sort of unpopular, is weighing daily. This, I think people cross this line and they say, weighing daily seems like it's obsessive about weight. But what it's really doing is helping to desensitize you from the numbers. So if you can track your weight and start seeing the patterns and recognize that you could be doing absolutely nothing different, eating the exact same things and have everything else just be the same, and your weight is still going to do this whether you like it or not, right? And so if you can desensitize yourself to that, it makes weigh-ins easier. It helps you keep this mindset, okay? So what else is what's the last one? Say this anytime you get on the scale. This is a good one. So deciding that you're going to take action regardless of how your weigh-in turns out. So say this, I'm going to act on my plan today, no matter how my weigh-in turns out. So I want you to remember that sometimes your inability to lose weight is really a perspective issue. So letting your emotions get in the way of taking action, when action is inconsistent, you won't lose weight, right? So this is a negative cycle we need to exit from. So let's keep this mindset first theory going as we're thinking about some of these more concrete reasons why you're in a plateau, okay? So first things first, you might not have a problem at all. Okay, so here's the scenario. You may be eating well, you're exercising, you're making some changes. You may simply be trading body fat for muscle. Okay, and so if you're seeing the scale do nothing, you're just kind of flatlined there. There's a very good possibility, if you've been putting in the effort, that you're making body comp changes but not seeing the results on the scale. So facts that support this. Muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're burning off fat and losing weight from that, but you're gaining muscle at the same time, your weight ends up evening out, right? Exercise burns fat and builds muscle. So you are building muscle whether you really realize it or not, okay? And so here's what you might see. Here's how you know you're in this category. You don't see weight change on the scale. You may see some slight upticks with muscle gain, and you may see this fluctuation as your body is burning fat, building muscle. You may also not see changes in your body comp stats. So you may be like, well, if I'm losing body fat, my body fat percentage must be coming down. Those numbers are notoriously inaccurate. And so if you're really relying on that, you're going to be on that emotional roller coaster as well. So don't rely on body comp stats. What is more reliable is noticing your clothes fitting differently. So scale staying the same, body comp's the same, but all of a sudden your pants fit a little bit better. That's a signal that you're headed in the right direction. And maybe people are commenting on your weight. No one really likes that, but it happens. And so this is how to identify if you don't have a problem. I think we can all agree not really having an issue here. It's just that one number that you're hung up on isn't moving. So that is a mindset issue. Okay. So here's what to do. Do not stop what you're doing. Okay. Because what you're doing is working. And the biggest mistake you can do is saying, oh, well, I want the weight to start coming down. So clearly something needs to change. What you're doing is working. And if you're going to change something, you're going to screw with your results. Okay, so just let it ride. Focus in on these other measures of success. So having those clothes that felt snug, trying those on again, taking measurements instead of relying on body comp numbers. So get one of those, what is it, a sewing measuring tape. You can measure key places where you tend to lose weight fastest, hips, waist, belly area, that kind of stuff. You can keep track of that. You can also just snap a daily progress picture so that day to day, if you're scrolling through those, you can start noticing a difference. It's really difficult to see a difference in yourself day to day because you're living in your own body. You just don't notice it, right? So there's what to do, AKA not a problem. Let's talk about some real problems, okay? So number 2 is the most common reason weight loss stalls. So a woman builds confidence when losing weight, which is great. That's awesome. But for a lot of people, sometimes this ends up equating to rewarding oneself with habits that will actually reverse your progress. So if you've ever said something like this, I've hit all my workouts as planned this week, I'm going to go get ice cream, or I've lost a few pounds, I can relax and eat this and that and the other thing. Those are the kinds of mindset things that stall your progress, right? You're doing good, and somehow that means you can stop doing what you're doing, right? Even though it was working. So here's what you might see. It ends up being a period of weight loss followed by a stall or a gain. So this is what people consider like a natural plateau, right? Maybe you've also decreased your food logging frequency. If you've been tracking, just look at how many days over the past couple of weeks you've actually completed a log, right? If this increases over time, having those days add up, that's probably a good sign that your habits are slipping. Decrease in your activity tracker stats as well. So this could be maybe last week you were doing burning so many calories with exercise and making sure you're getting something in every day. And now slowly but surely you're skipping workouts and they're shorter duration, less intense, things like that. Those are not that you can't adjust those things, but if it's now causing your weight loss to stall, those are some things to focus on. So if you are identifying here, first of all, put in the chat yes, identifying something like that. I want to know what we're looking at here. Here's what to do. Depending on where you are here, you can either begin food logging and activity tracking, or go back and analyze the information that you already have. So if you've been food logging, if you've got a Fitbit or some other device that's keeping that sort of information for you, look at those logs and figure out when you were in a steadier state of weight loss. Okay. We're going to get to that in a second. But a mindset question you want to ask yourself is this: why weren't you able to stick with this? If you're looking back at your food logs and you've got this period of time where things were going really well, and you're looking at that food and you're like, I can't do that again. Like I can't stand eating that amount of chicken in 1 week and that amount of salad in 1 week. That's crazy to me. I was in a good state then and things are busier at work. I just cannot do that, right? Those are some good questions to ask yourself to decide whether or not your plan is actually working for you, if it's actually sustainable for the long term. And those are some really good questions to ask. Okay. So having data on your side is really crucial if you want to separate your emotional feelings about your progress and what's actually happening in real life. At the heart, weight loss is science, right? But we tend to bring emotion into it, unfortunately, right? So if you're not already tracking your food intake or your activity output, set yourself up to do that. So in my programs, I require my ladies to use the MyFitnessPal app, which is a food logging app. And I also strongly recommend a fitness tracker like Fitbit or Apple Watch. It just helps collect more information and help you hone in on what is going right and what is going wrong. Okay. And so if you've been doing that for a while, you're going to have a chart like the one that you see here. This is a weight chart, a progress report. And you'll see that what we're looking at here is a period of 6 months. So just sort of a sidestep to that. Keep in mind that trends over a month or 3 months or 6 months actually mean more than what's happening over a week. If you're analyzing what's happening in 1 week, what you're seeing is changes in water weight fluctuations, not fat loss. And so if you're judging what you're doing off of that information, you're going to be spinning your wheels because you can't help water fluctuations. So if you're just getting started with tracking and you don't have more than a week or you have nothing at this current stage, just be patient, be the information collector for right now. The results will come from that later, okay? But anyway, just looking at this weight log, what we're looking for is periods where weight loss is declining, right? That makes sense. And you might say, well, that worked, but I've lost weight. Should I adjust my calorie deficit? We're going to get to that here in a second. So either begin food logging or activity tracking, go back and analyze. And the next part of this is creating a new reward system for yourself. Remember this idea of rewarding yourself with behaviors that reverse your progress. We need to find rewards that don't involve skipping workouts or eating any differently. We want to make sure that the habits that you're building are sustainable and that your reward system is not attached to that. Okay. So one of the ways that you can do that is starting now, including foods that you can't live without in your diet from the beginning. Okay. I just had a conversation with one of my program ladies this morning about, allowing yourself, if you've got some extra calories left in the day that you're budgeting for, let those be discretionary calories, those things that are considered forbidden. If you love ice cream and Cheetos and macaroni and cheese and that kind of stuff, that's a great way to include those foods in there on a regular basis so that you don't feel like you can use those foods as a reward. They're just normal parts of your diet. And so it really takes them off the pedestal. Okay. All right. So we're analyzing our food logs. We're looking at this weight chart. We're seeing where the decline happened, going back, seeing what foods you were eating at that time, and try to just rinse and repeat. Sometimes it's as simple as that. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Okay. In the chat. So let me know if you have any questions about that one. We can always work backwards on that. But we'll move on here. So gather your thoughts, certainly put it in there, and I'll address some more questions at the end. Number 3 is number 3. I didn't label that wrong, right? Okay, either way, you're using the wrong numbers, right? So you're going through all of this headache of tracking and food logging and all of these things. But if you're not going for the right numbers, what good is it really doing for you, right? So the biggest mistake that I see women making is taking a calorie goal that is too steep, trying to cut out too much, right? Oh, there's my notes on there. I guess I didn't finish that one. That's why we don't do this thing 3 days in advance, right? Okay, so here's how you know the things that you might see happening. Nothing happening on the scale. We've kind of identified that already. No changes in body comp. These last two will kind of tell us what direction your calorie deficit is incorrect for, right? So feeling tired, feeling hungry, feeling like you're forcing a calorie deficit, constantly thinking about food, that's a good signal that you're not eating enough on a regular basis. Second side of this is you're feeling tired after meals, you're feeling bloated, you're feeling a little overfull. This is more common for overeating, which you can probably recognize a little bit easier, right? So here's how to know if your calorie goal is right, all right? So the number one thing you can do here is just be patient and give it time. Start simply by using that calorie goal that your app suggests for you. If you're in my program, we've done some calculations to make sure that these numbers are correct. But if you're just getting started and you're just getting your feet wet with logging, it's okay to just use the information that MyFitnessPal gives you or any of the other apps that you want to use for that as well. You can aim for that. You can track your calorie averages over a period of at least a couple weeks. Again, we're talking about more long-term trends is what we're looking to analyze. Your body will not adjust and lose weight right away if you're over 35. Okay, so we can already get that out of our heads. So give it a little bit of time, be patient, and just know that this is a long-term process, okay? So do this first, and as your body adjusts, you can expect your hunger and your energy levels might be all over the place. This is normal of getting into a new routine. So don't judge yet whether or not you're feeling hungry all the time because there's simply an adjustment process that needs to happen as well. This is why this tends to be the hardest part of weight loss for most women and where most people give up within a couple of weeks. So keep your mindset in check here. Take emotions out of it. Just do the logging. Try to separate your emotions out of the equation because they're not relevant here, honestly. We just have to hunker down and do the things for a little bit. Now, after that, you can do the analysis that we talked about and use hunger and energy as gauges going forward. In a calorie deficit, you might feel a little bit less than satisfied, but you should not feel starved. I'll say that again. If you are getting your eating patterns right, you will not feel starved in a calorie deficit. That's probably something that you've not experienced, and I hope to give to you someday, is not feeling like you're going to eat a horse every time you're trying to stay in a calorie deficit. I have a whole program designed around making sure that doesn't happen. But a good gauge is if you're hitting your numbers, but you're constantly thinking about food, you're bargaining with yourself over calories, you're going to bed hungry and just trying to pretend it doesn't exist, this is not going to last. You're going to fail. You can only handle that for a short period of time before your willpower is gone. You have a bad weigh-in and you're crying on your bathroom floor because the scale is not being nice to you. Same with energy. Okay, you shouldn't feel spent at the end of each day. Whatever workout routine you're trying to put in, you should have energy both before and after that if you're fueling yourself properly. So if you're not and you're hitting that 2:30 to 4 p.m. window and you're like dying on your desk and you can't get there for the end of the day, you want to go to bed at 6 p.m. when you're getting home, that's a signal that your nutrition isn't right. Your deficit is too steep. Okay. Let's see what else here. So we want to feel mostly satisfied after a meal or a snack and have steady energy through the day. Those are the two things that we're aiming for. We don't have enough time to really go through how to go through that. Like I said, there's a whole program based for that. So adjusting for exercise as well. So if you're working out heavier some days, add about half of those calories that you burned. Again, if you have a fitness tracker, add that into your calorie budget. That's usually a good way to make sure that you're not going into too steep of a deficit on days that you're doing a more intense workout. Okay. And you might say, okay, so what was working, what I analyzed in my logs was working before, but maybe you've already lost weight. Maybe you're down some weight. Okay. Should you adjust your calorie deficit to account for a smaller body right now? Okay. So, first fact, calories burned is affected by your total body weight. Okay. So, losing body fat will adjust your base metabolic rate just a bit. Okay. So, I want to show you the numbers, right? Okay, so these screenshots are taken from one of the calorie estimators that I use for program participants. And so let's imagine this first one here. So this woman coming in at 200 pounds, she's 45 years old, height is the same, activity level is the same from our first to our second. And basically, she is trying to lose 20 pounds in 90 days. And so these are the numbers that are, by the estimates, going to get her there. Okay. So let's take a look at these. Let me just look at these numbers here. What am I saying? Okay, so things to note too, she's relatively sedentary, so you'll see that physical activity level is the same for this example. And so she's at the 200 pounds, she is estimated to burn about 2,200 or so calories per day. And then we can figure out a calorie deficit goal that's realistic from there. This computer program does spit out a number. Often I adjust this a little bit higher because that tends to be a little bit low. Most of these calorie trackers will tell you what's reasonable is actually quite unreasonable when it comes to your actual hunger in real life. Okay, so remember this number, 2,200 calories starting at 200 pounds. Now, the same woman reaches that goal. She loses 20 pounds. She's now at 180 and she's hit a plateau. Okay, same stats in here. Activity level is the same, strictly for this example. And what we see now is that her calories to just maintain her weight right now, 2,100 calories. Well, let's go a little bit less. So essentially, you're burning 150 calories less per day, right? And it may sound like a significant number, but we have to account for one more thing. Calories burned is also affected by your body composition. So muscle burns more energy at rest than stored fat. This woman did not remain completely sedentary to lose that first 20 pounds. She incorporated some exercise, she gained some muscle mass. So we run the numbers accounting for those things. And are you surprised by what you see? Like we adjusted this physical activity level here on the bottom. Her calories burned increases, and suddenly her calorie goal becomes a lot larger. Okay. And this is where people get really tripped up because this sounds like such a good thing. Well, I'm burning off more calories naturally. So this is just going to help propel the weight loss process. This is how you actually backtrack on your progress and plateau again, right? Because if a calorie deficit is too steep, it becomes unmanageable. You run into hunger and you end up blowing off the habits that you've built. You also end up reducing how much muscle mass you have because if your calorie deficit is too steep, then you actually start burning off more muscle, reducing your body weight from muscle, which burns more calories at rest, and then reduces your metabolic rate again. Okay. So a big mistake that people make is actually adjusting in the wrong direction and assuming that because their body is burning less calories, not true, that they need to reduce their calorie intake to lose more weight. It's the complete opposite. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're hitting your plateaus and starting to reach your incremental goals on the way down. Okay. All right. Let me know if you have questions about that, because that's sort of like backwards thinking from traditional dieting. So I don't want to leave you guys hanging if you need me to clarify that one for you. All right. So number 4, I knew I mislabeled one of these somewhere. This is number 4, inaccurate tracking. Do you want to waste your own time is really what this question is. So if you're going to spend the time and the energy tracking what you eat, tracking your exercise, you're going to be spinning your wheels if you're not doing this accurately, okay? Remember that you're using the info that you're gathering to plan your next move. And if it's not accurate, you're likely going to be making the wrong assumptions about what's happening, and you're not going to be able to make any progress, right? Enter frustration. So simply that small mistakes add up daily, which may not seem like a big deal, but they compound over time. So we really need to make sure that as you're beginning tracking, or if you've been tracking for a while, from this point forward, you're being as accurate as you possibly can. And very simply, that's because we as humans are not good at estimating portions and eyeballing quantities. So you're probably getting these things wrong, okay? So here's how to know that your logging is inaccurate. Maybe you're logging partial days. So you feel good about things at breakfast, but you don't end up tracking anything else. Like, well, how is that helpful? You're not getting the big picture of whether or not you're getting a calorie deficit over the course of the day. You're eyeballing portions and you're guessing on the quantities. Yeah, that's not good, because that's going to be, hundreds of extra calories in some cases over the course of a day. And the last one, what's this last one? It's cut off on my screen here. Logging generic foods instead of going by brand. Okay. So one of the things that you can do if you're food logging is you can enter something generic like vanilla yogurt, and you can get the information for some sort of random generic vanilla yogurt. But if what you're eating is actually a full fat Greek yogurt, which is higher protein and therefore higher calories with the fat in there too, you may be getting completely different information and completely different numbers. So maybe it seems simple to you, especially if you've been doing it for a while, but the more accurate you can get with the type of food that you're getting and looking at the numbers and comparing your label to what you're actually logging in the apps, that is going to give you much better information. Okay. All right, so here's how we clean this up a little bit. And these are just some basic tips here. But really the gold standard for what you can do is using a food scale. Some of the biggest things that I see estimated incorrectly are proteins. So when I'm telling you eat 4 or 5 ounces of chicken, but you're eyeballing it, probably you're undercutting that, not getting enough protein. You're probably overdoing it on things like cereals and crackers and what else did I measure? Yogurt was another one that I found I was grossly inaccurate with. And so the best way to be as most accurate as possible is using a food scale. You'll see on food labels, it's either measuring things in ounces or in grams. And so if you are measuring that, that is very exact. And then you can find the entries that best match that. You can also use measuring cups and measuring spoons. Single serve packaging, like, single cup yogurts can be really helpful to save time with that side of things as well. But just being at least a step above where you are now in terms of this accuracy is going to improve the information that you're getting and therefore your results, right? So again, checking the label information against what you're putting in the app. Most apps like MyFitnessPal, it'll allow you to search for a brand. So instead of saying vanilla yogurt, you can say Chobani vanilla Greek yogurt, and then you can go through what it has listed for the calories and the protein and anything else that's important to you, and make sure it's at least pretty close to what's on the label. I do see, gram discrepancies here and there. It'll say it's got 16 grams of protein when the label says 15 or something like that. Whatever, like that's not going to make a huge deal over time. You have to be accurate without being crazy, I guess is the word for it. And measuring every time can be, it may feel tedious a little bit, but if we're not good at eyeballing things, you're not going to be better at it tomorrow, right? So if you are really looking to get a handle on where your weight loss progress is going and you're doing this tracking, make sure you're doing it every time, at least for a little while. Okay. All right. So let me know, we'll just pause here for a second. Let me know what questions have come up. If you're not sure if you're identifying with any of these, let me know which one you feel like you're identifying with most. We could certainly tease that out a little bit more if you need to. And then we'll ask whether or not we've answered this question. I'll give you guys a minute to work on that, but let's just think about this question here for a second, right? So I posed this to you at the beginning of this presentation. How do I lose 20 pounds in 90 days? It seems like a tall order, right? We've got a great start going with this. We know that we need to avoid and adjust through weight loss plateaus to steadily and safely lose weight. So to keep that number coming down slowly but surely, we need to not let our emotions get ahead of us and stop right before things are actually starting to go in your favor. Knowing why the plateau is key to adjusting quickly. So the best thing that you can do is focus your attention on tracking, use that information to your advantage. And the lucky thing is, this is a very concrete thing to do. It's very actionable. You could get started with this today. There are very specific instructions. Download the app that you want to use, start food logging, make sure you're logging it every single day, making sure it's as accurate as possible. And at the end of the week, you can start doing a little bit of analysis, which unfortunately we're not going to be able to do in full effect here today, but there are definitely some ways to get started that I showed you as you're going for today. What I didn't say is important as well. Okay, it's important to note that I did not once talk about cutting out your favorite foods, intermittent fasting, cutting out carbs, doing keto. There are no supplements that I want you to buy for me right now. Okay, these are tactics that the dieting industry uses. They are distractions. Okay, you don't need them. But as humans, we tend to look for easy ways around. Well, okay, well, maybe this supplement will help me lose weight and then I don't really need to change anything else, right? We find these shiny new ways to accomplish weight loss. So hopefully it means we don't have to do that work. And we're lazy, right? It's a lazy human thing. This is a genetic thing, right? We like our results to pay off immediately. And when we're faced with a bad way in, we look for instant gratification, for the comfort, when what you really need is a hug. Okay. It's easier to say, you know, this method that I've been trying has failed me. Let me try to find something else that's going to work instead, rather than just say, okay, this method isn't working. What am I doing wrong? And putting that impetus on yourself is a very difficult thing to do. What you really need is someone to give you a hug and to point you in the right direction, right? Okay. Now, another big question here, kind of circling back to our mindset conversation at our beginning. So maybe you've reached this point in this class and you're saying, Jackie, all this tracking and analyzing is crazy. You're crazy. I'm not going to do that. Do you really expect me to do this? Yes, I do. It's natural to feel a little bit overwhelmed trying anything new or adjusting what has been comfortable to you so far. New things are not very easy for us to do. I did read somewhere that if you're feeling comfortable about something that you're doing, you're probably not trying very hard. And when you're learning new things, it is natural to feel unsure and anxious and maybe a little bit combative, let's say, about it. You don't want to do it because it feels hard, right? And you may be at a hard stop right now and you're just thinking, this lady is crazy, arms crossed. I'm shutting off this broadcast right now, like whatever, who cares? That's okay. Okay, but here's what that could mean for you if you haven't already shut off this broadcast. Maybe you're not quite ready to move forward in your weight loss journey. Maybe you are barely at the beginning stages. Maybe you've lost some weight already. Um, Maybe you've changed some habits, you're eating better. That's all wonderful. There's a lot of great stuff that comes from that. But what you want to remember is this: the amount of change that you see is directly proportional to the amount of change that you're willing to make. Okay. You can absolutely continue doing what you're doing, hoping to figure things out along the way. That for sure can work if you happen to be making all of the right moves at the right times. What we talked about today represents a new level of your journey, the next step for where you want to go. And you might not be ready for it yet. And sometimes being at a plateau is actually a signal that you have reached the amount of change that the things you have changed will allow for. Okay. So if you've cut out ice cream, you can only get so far in your process having cut out ice cream. You have to do something different, level up a little bit in order to see that next step of progress. If you're not ready for it yet, that's totally fine. There's no shame there. Like, you have your process and you're ready when you're ready. Okay. But you might also be feeling like, all right, I want to try this. I want to do something. I'm really feeling kind of motivated. I feel like I've identified with what's going wrong. I want to adjust my plan to get out of this plateau, but I have questions, right? So what we didn't go into today is, all right, what are you actually eating, right? We talked a lot about food logging and making sure it's accurate, but what are you supposed to be putting in there? How do you get in a calorie deficit without feeling super hungry? Again, that is vital, making sure that you are staying satisfied for the most part to stick with this. How do you do that? How does exercise fit into this? How do you build that muscle so that we can have this increase in calories that we talked about as well? Well, if that is you, this next part is for you. I want to show you how my Ditch the Diet program works so that we can answer these questions and a whole lot more. I know I've got a few of you here live and in the replay that are in the program currently. So feel free to duck out now if you need to do something else because you're already doing all this. That's okay. But otherwise, you can stay and watch as well. So I want to show you how Ditch the Diet addresses these questions and builds out a wellness routine that lends results and it works with your life. So this is the basic structure. We have these learning modules. You go in, you start watching your lessons. We start by building some basic wellness habits. Each week, you've got pretty stupidly clear action list of what you want to do. Again, taking these actionable things that you can just get started on. These things don't take longer than an hour to complete, but allows you to tailor your own weight loss eating style and exercise routine to whatever you've got going on. So I never outright tell you what you need to be eating, how you need to be exercising, any of that. There is no dictation there, but it's helping you figure out how to implement these things that we know do need to happen for weight loss in some way, shape, or form. Okay. And honestly, if you have not created a wellness routine that meshes with your life, frankly, you haven't gotten it right. We need to go back to the drawing board, make sure it's something that you can actually continue with and you actually look forward to. And then, of course, in that, we are tracking progress. We're doing food logging. We're looking at all of these numbers. We're making the changes before you hit a plateau, as you experience plateaus, so that you can steadily lose weight over the course of however long you spend with me, but usually 20 pounds in 90 days is pretty typical. We're rinsing and repeating until you get to your goal weight, wherever you want to be. And that's basically how it works, basically 4 steps. But I want to show you a little bit more about what you get in each of these modules as well. So when you enroll, you have immediate access to the online portal. There is a welcome video, of course, gives you a little orientation how to use it. And there's a list of modules on the left-hand side. Very simple. If you've ever done an online course before, this isn't new. Okay. So you watch, the videos will show that they've completed so you don't lose your place. It is set up right now so that there is a chunk of lessons that you do each week. but you can access those at your own pace. So you have lifetime access to the online portal. So you can always go back and watch. You can take the things at your own pace if you feel like you need to go a little bit slower, or if you want to skip ahead, you can certainly do that too. So in the first module, we dive right into some of the mindset work so that you can bust down the barrier, some of these excuses, some of which we've talked about already today, and that have been holding you back so far, okay? So you set a clear goal for yourself, which is a big part of creating that action plan for yourself, and that is how we get started there. As we set up more concrete logistics like meal plans and calorie goals and getting your numbers right so that you're staying more satisfied between meals, we begin to start unlearning some of the dieting rules that are holding you back. So those rules that are saying, not supposed to eat after 7 p.m., or I'm never allowed to have ice cream, and I can't have my favorite mac and cheese when my kids are having it right in front of me. Like, no, we don't need that. So we're going to get rid of those rules, rebuild some useful mindsets from scratch so that you can build a routine that is sustainable and will help you get to your goal at the end. Okay. Meat and potatoes of this, chapters 3 through 6, is more logistics, planning, balancing out meals. We are overhauling your family's diet, but not how you might think. We're talking about how to take the recipes that you're already use them. Do not adulterate them unless you'd like to, and fit them into your plan as is. This is vital for making sure that the family structure doesn't get completely upended because you're on a diet. That is one big reason many women fail, because the environment is not as supportive because they're trying to change everything under the sun, and the kids won't eat that, right? Most importantly, I'm going to show you how to plan and how to meal prep so that you don't have to spend an entire Sunday in the kitchen meal planning. So those are the basic things that is really going to get you into the calorie deficit, get you on the road to success there. But as we go, we're going to start seeing plateaus that are based on stress, lack of sleep, and all of these other things that cause hormonal shifts that make it difficult for us to stay in a calorie deficit. So there are, of course, modules on these and action steps to overcome them as well. And we cannot finish off a solid program without figuring out what's next. So again, this is designed originally to be completed in 12 weeks. You can reach this at 24 weeks for your planning process. But what we want to do is make sure it's abundantly clear how to proceed after the program is over so that you continue seeing success and you continue on to your goal, or at that point, if you've reached your goal, get to that maintenance phase and stay there, right? And that is the Ditch the Diet program, except there are some new additions I want to mention too. I just added 12 bonus trainings to address questions like, what do I do on vacation? The kids are coming home for summer vacation. That's going to turn my whole schedule upside down. How do I do that? How do I stay motivated when I hit a plateau? Yes, there's more for that. Okay. You need to know what to do in these situations so that you can confidently move forward, can stick with your plan no matter what is going on. Okay. So past clients love these. They said that it really helped them stay focused in between. These are delivered in fun email packages over the course of 12 weeks. With some additional resources to help with the training topic of the week. And you can save these too. So if you're like, too much right now, save them in your email, and then you can go back and watch them whenever you are ready. Okay. And just a suggestion for using these two. One of my past clients, Denise, she used to multitask and watch these videos. She's got a little home gym, so she'd do them on the treadmill. She forget that she was even walking as she's learning her lessons along the way. So that's a good tip for using those. Recipes, people are always asking, okay, well, what am I supposed to be eating? And while there's a lot of that in the modules themselves, there are thousands of recipes in the platform that you can go to. They're all meant to keep you full, keep you focused, keep that ideal balance of calories and energy and protein and all of those things in check so that they're all good options. And there's always something new just around the corner, so you're never bored with your diet foods. Okay. So you came here for a reason, right? At the end of the day, you're still here, you're watching this training, and I bet it's because you've tried and you failed to lose weight in the past. Or maybe you're just at a point where the ways that you used to lose weight and keep yourself in check aren't working anymore. If you were over 35, you've probably seen a pretty big change happening in that department. You're also tired of jumping from meal plan and freebie to freebie, crossing your fingers that at some point this is all going to fall into place for you, right? So if you want to stop guessing at what works and build a sustainable weight loss program on your terms, one that's going to help you not only lose the weight, but will also be your weight maintenance plan once you reach that goal, here is how to do it. Join the Ditch the Diet program, okay? So you will get the entire Ditch the Diet program with lifetime access to all of the modules. Like I said, you can go back and watch the lessons. You get these weekly expert training videos that are sent to your email each week. And this bonus bundle of over 1,000 recipes for just $7.97. That's it. Okay. And if you want to make it even easier, you can do our payment plan and get started right now for $267 over 3 months if it's easier to make the smaller payments for you. Okay. So when you're ready, you can scroll down. If you're here live, I'm putting these links in the chat as well. That'll bring you to the enrollment center. You'll see this here. Look for that enrollment button and tap that right now. But I'm not done with you, right? Okay. But I have a question, right? Are you the type of person that thrives on personalized feedback? Okay. So maybe you're here today and you're like, I still have questions, Jackie. I need you. And you're putting things in the chat. Love that. So that's a good indicator that you might be in for Ditch the Diet Plus. Okay. Maybe you want someone to tell you what to eat. You want someone to look through your food logs and confirm that you're on the right track. Go through all these details with you so that you feel confident that you're making the right moves. You want someone to bounce ideas off of. You want to do that in a supportive atmosphere with an expert who's been working with weight loss clients forever. She's been there herself as well, talking about myself. And if so, we do have this Ditch the Diet Plus program for you. So there's this way to think about it, right? So you have Ditch the Diet, and then you have Ditch the Diet Plus personal feedback. You get everything in the Ditch the Diet program that we talked about. Plus, I'll help you set up your goal initially, make sure that your calorie goals and these other measures are on point before you start. You'll also have access to me through a personal messaging system. It's sort of like texting through the app that we use so that you can ask questions, you can get support anytime that you need it. I'll also be checking your food logs for you. So if you're using MyFitnessPal, which I would require you to do in this program, I can log in and look at everything that you're doing, help you with that analysis, send you weekly videos with suggested tweaks so that you can get your plan stronger week after week. Okay. So this is another option. If you want to do the program on your own, you can do that. If you want to do the program with support, you might prefer Ditch the Diet Plus. Okay. Both of these are awesome options to go through. You're going to get support either way. I'm still doing weekly check-ins with the Ditch clients just a little bit in a different way. But this is important. I do have limited options for limited openings for the Plus program because of the amount of time that I spend each week with each individual clients. I have to make sure that there's just enough time in the day to make sure that everyone is getting the level of care that they need. And so I do limit those spots. So if Plus fills up before you can enroll, what you can do is enroll in Ditch the Diet, get started now. And when a spot opens up in Ditch the Diet Plus, I'll let you know and I'll make it super easy to upgrade into Plus whenever that is. If you enroll today and I happen to have a spot open, I would email you immediately and let you know that so you could upgrade as you begin rather than further down the road. Okay. So just to be clear, we have two options here. Ditch the Diet, we have lifetime access to the entire Ditch the Diet program. We have these weekly expert trainings. You've got that bonus bundle of recipes, and you do, what's not on here, you do get 3 months of weekly check-ins with me. which does end after that 3-month program. But again, you have lifetime access to go back and watch all the modules and all of that. Ditch the Diet Plus is everything that you see there, plus 3 months access to personalized support from me. Again, that 24/7 messaging system, a more in-depth weekly check-in. So the personal reviews and that personalized initial setup so that you feel confident getting started off on the right foot as well. So if you want to kick it off, start doing the work on your own, your plan is waiting for you over inside the program. You can enroll, you can start now, and remember that there's always that payment plan option for both of these, Ditch the Diet and Plus. So you can get started today in the smaller program for $267 or $499 per month for Plus. Okay. So just want to leave you with a couple of reviews, things that past clients have said. There are some numerical results on here, 30 pounds in 6 months. There was one that was 25 in 3 months. Thinking about what else you're gaining out of this experience too. Yes, you're losing weight, but you're increasing your energy. You're feeling better about yourself. Your self-esteem is improving. Like all of these good things, right? So I love seeing these testimonials come through. This is really why I do this, to make sure that I'm living up to my potential, right? I started becoming a dietitian and created this business to make sure that these results are happening. And so I am committed to making that happen for everyone that runs through my program, including you. So real quick, here's how you know if you're ready for this program or not. If you felt any sort of spark today, it's a good indication that you are ready for some change, that you are ready to look at this in a new way. If you have more than 20 pounds to lose, the scale is not budging. This is a wonderful program for you. If you have less than 20 pounds to lose, it can still happen. Your results may just happen a little bit slower over a longer period of time. The closer you get to your weight loss goal, the harder those pounds tend to come off. Okay. So I say above 20 pounds, but really anywhere you are with this, unless you're here to lose like 3 or 4 pounds, it's probably not the right program for you. Okay. If you have failed before to stick to more concrete cookie cutter plans, having something more flexible like this is definitely the way to go. And you're tired of wasting money on those things that don't work, and your time and your energy on those things. If you're ready to invest in your last solution, and if you know that it is time for you to prioritize yourself, show up, put this as a forefront in your life for making this change. If you know that it's time, your last solution is waiting for you in Ditch the Diet. If you're here live, click the link that's in the chat. If you're watching on replay, these links are in your email as well. Scroll down, tap that link, get enrolled, and I will see you inside the program.